Welcome to Q&A with AEP. I'm Brandy Pennington. This is Maurice Pennington. We are here today to discuss wedding toast. We're going to start right off the bat here and say, Maurice, have you done a toast at a wedding before?
I have done several toasts, and my best toast would be at my brother's wedding in 2006, and I feel like I did a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
Do you have any idea how long your toast was?
Yes, it was very long.
No.
it was probably way longer than it should be. I want to say it was like close to either 10 minutes, which just seems way excessive, but it was a good reaction. I'm going to stand by that.
So he's going to stand by that, and my 400 weddings from the outside perspective are that even the best toasts aren't really that good. And while there are probably 12 to 15 people who loved somebody's toast, the other 200 didn't care and probably didn't listen. And so that is where we start with our perspective on how to manage toast at your wedding. Obviously, everybody, we're in tradition. We have to have toast. Best man, maid of honor have to talk, whether they are public speakers or not, whether or not they want to. You have to. And so we tend to get a lot of poorly done, uncomfortable, stressed, anxiety-driven toast. And I think that is a really tough thing.
Well, I think the more you plan, like I worked on this for like an entire week.
A week.
I practiced and I said it. Absolutely.
Not a year, a week. Okay, so.
You're getting out of me.
Yeah. So I think that when we look at the timeline, there's always this kind of where do we fit them in, because a lot of people know that a lot of people don't care or aren't invested in the toast.
I don't think people know that.
I think a lot of my clients have been like, every time I go to a wedding, the worst part of the wedding is the toast. Or we went to a wedding and it was really great except for all the toast. Or, we had to sit there and listen. We had no food, no drinks, and everybody just kept going on and on. There were 6 toasts in a row. So that's like, not necessarily that I think people sit down and say like toasts are stupid, but their perspective as guests at other weddings was that they did not enjoy that time frame.
So I would think the very few weddings that I've done with you, like if it's the mom, the father, sister, or like best man, or like if it's not that many, it's not bad. But yes, like 5, 6, 7 people talking like that seems to be a little excessive.
Yes. And the bigger thing is that we really do try when planning to find out from the people that are speaking how long they'll be speaking. And for the most part, what happens is people say, oh, not long. I'll be quick. I don't have that much to say. And then they start talking, and then it's 12, 15 minutes later. Nobody has listened that long. And now we have kind of messed up the timeline because we didn't account for 12 minutes. My suggestion in this is always to make the person do the speech in front of someone that times them so that there is a realistic timeline. I had a wedding several years back, and we coordinate the timing of the food service so that the food comes out hot. That's super important. Everybody at a wedding cares. The father of the bride's speech was 17 minutes long.
Wow.
So for 17 minutes, people sat moving around their chairs, trying to get up to go get a drink, trying to want to leave to go to the bathroom, and the food sat in the kitchen to the point where the chef came out and said, at this point, the food's ruined. Like, what am I supposed to do now? Because it's been sitting under the heat lamp for almost 20 minutes. And that was just the dad. Lo and behold, the maid of honor and her matron of honor, 2 together, had like signs that they were holding. They had a 12-minute speech. They had like poster board. They had blown up pictures of her when she was little. And they had like all these little stories about when they were friends. And so while I know it's so important and like that emotional connection and that friendship is important, the wedding day is a really hard time to have these intimate, special moments because they are really shared between you and a very few people. Generally not you and the 300 people that came to your wedding.
Right.
So only a couple people are even getting it or kind of like understanding what you're talking about or feel connected to the stories that you're sharing. So we try to say that if people are going to give speeches and stories and a show, we try to say to do some of that at the rehearsal dinner. That tends to be the people closest to you that know about you and your best friend, or that, you know, they also grew up with you and your cousin. And
I've never had that. That, again, it makes sense.
So it's hard because from my perspective, I'm looking at a wedding from a very practical standpoint without a lot of emotional connection to anything that's going on. Not to say that I'm not invested, it's that I don't have a feeling one way or the other. So I try to look at it from a practical standpoint, but one that also doesn't take away the fact that that is still a very special moment. And you don't want to say, let's get rid of all this stuff that is meaningful, because everybody's going to be bored.
So how many toast speeches do you recommend them at all during the wedding itself?
I would say that if I fell into telling you what is traditionally done, the parents of whomever is hosting would do a welcome toast as people came in. So, you know, mom and dad, whomever I guess is hosting, they could potentially welcome. A lot of times the parents don't want to do this, so we won't even have this. And then best man, maid of honor. I think that there should not be, if you have to do toast, that should be it.
Okay.
What happens is, you know, somebody's brother also has something to say. Somebody's best friend also wants to say something. Grandma wants to say something. Somebody's aunt who, you know, helped raise them wants to say something. And it becomes just this very long time frame in which people have kind of checked out. And you really don't want any moment in the reception where they start thinking about going home. Once the I might want to go home thought comes, it tends not to go away, and that's how we get people leaving early. So we plan the reception entirely around not giving people downtime to be bored or to be confused or to be thinking, what is going on? This is not what I wanted to be doing today. So yes, toast, trying to keep them quick, trying to keep them funny, meaningful, but not so much that the meaning is only shared between you and two other people and everybody else doesn't understand what you're talking about or wasn't around for freshman year of college when you guys are sharing this intimate storyline that nobody else in the reception understands or knows about. So it's definitely, there's a fine line. I did have, I've had some offensive toast. I've had some toast in which it was clear that the mother of the bride wasn't a fan of the groom, or the best man wasn't a fan of the bride, and the toast did not go well. A lot of I think one of the lines was like, none of us wanted this to happen, but here we are.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was horrible. And you kind of, what we ask people to do is share those relationship dynamics with us so that we can prepare for that. So what you would have done at some point in the planning is said, like, hey, my fiance's best man is kind of a jerk, and you might want to see what's going to happen here. And so it's not like we can stop it. I can't pull the plug up on a mic or something. I mean, I could, I guess. But you do want to kind of have a heads up about that, and none of it went over well, and it's a terrible experience for everyone. So don't do that. If you can't have anything nice to say, probably don't give a speech. Yeah, like I feel like that would be the one like rule from childhood that I would keep. But yeah, I think that the toasts, they do matter, and they are an important part of sharing these moments. But they need to be short. They need to be funny. They need to be done by very few people. But again, if you have a rehearsal dinner, it's a great time to make sure that you get all of these intimate moments shared, and you're not asking people to cut out saying things that really matter to them, to you.
Have you ever done a toast?
I have not. I've never actually been in a bridal party either. Never been a maid of honor, bridesmaid, nothing. Probably speaks to me a lot. Not about that. So what do you think about toast? Love them, hate them, best you've heard, worst you've heard? I know that they now have people who will write speeches for you for weddings. I don't know how that works if they don't know anything about you guys, but maybe you fill out like a Mad Lib.
Just a broad.
Just a very generic.
Yeah.
So yeah, let us know, and we'll see you next week for our next topic.